fundamental issues in hardware and software co-design. Models will be different with respect to different type of applications and with respect to implementation levels also. Whenever we are go on implementing with respect to that, the with respect to the layers and levels of implementation, the result will also change, and your model may also change after the second level or third level. That is with respect to the model. With respect to architecture, you have different type of architecture, means on the paper you can write it, and you have different type of implementation methods also: controller architecture, data path architecture, and CISC architecture, RISC architecture with respect to programming, very long instruction world computing, and single instruction multiple data, and multiple instruction multiple data, MIMD, SIMD. These are the different types of. And for your topic or for your application, how which architecture is implementable or which architecture is useful, that you have to identify and use it with respect to your topic. Okay, sorry, with respect to your application. In controller architecture, we have seen, and data path architecture, how we are going to interconnect the register counters and register files, memories, and ports with respect to the design. Okay, and next is finite state machine data path, that is FSMD architecture, combines the controller architecture with data path architecture. You have a controller architecture, means with respect to the design, the blocks which can control the operation of your application, and another part is the data path. Means data path, between the data path is a connection between input towards the output. Intermediate is controller. Okay, input you will be taking and you will be processing some information on the input data, and you will be getting the result as an output. That is with respect to finite, with respect to combination of your controller and data path. It implies a controller with the data path, and controller generates the control and input, whereas the data path process the data. Data path will be doing the processing of data. Controller input will give the input towards the data path. And the data path contains two type of input ports, out of which one act as a control port for the receiving or sending the control signal from or to the controller unit, and second input output port interfaces the data path with external word for the data input and data output. Okay, you can consider with respect to data path, two type of input output ports you can consider. One is with respect to controller signal, that is from and to the controller unit. Next, you can see with respect to second input output port, which interfaces the path with external world for data input and data output. Normally, data path is implemented in a chip, and the input output pins of the chip act as a data input output port for the chip resident data path. Means if you are going with respect to chip resident data path, whatever the controller input output will over there, that you can follow it for chip input output pins. The chip act as a data input output port for the chip resident data path. Okay, and complex instruction set computing architecture uses an instruction set representing the complex operations. You can see here for the CISC, you will be using the complex instruction for the operation of your function. Okay, it is possible for the CISC instruction set to perform a large complex operations with the single instruction. With the given single instruction, we can do a large number of complex operations with a single instruction. Example, reading a register value and comparing it with the given value, and then transfer the program execution to a new address location is done using the CJNE instruction. Example they have given, that is reading a register value and comparing it with the given value, and then transfer the program execution to the new address location, can be done with only one instruction, that is CJNE. First you have to compare it, then jump if not equal to the new address line. That is the one instruction which is complex instruction you will be using with respect to CISC architecture. The use of a single complex instruction in place of multiple simple instructions greatly reduces the program memory access and program memory size requirement also. See, as the one instruction only doing four instruction work, then you will definitely reduce the program size and you will reduce the memory size which is needed for the program storage also. Okay. However, it requires additional silicon for the implementation microcode decoders for decoding the CISC instruction. See, because as the program or as the instructions are very complex, then you need one more component to decode those type of complex instruction easily. Okay, that's why you need a microcode decoder also. The data path for the CISC processor is very complex. And next we'll see with the reduced instruction set computing, that is CISC computing architecture uses instruction set representing simple operations. It requires the execution of multiple RISC instruction to perform a complex operation. This requires the execution of multiple RISC instruction to perform a complex operation. The data path of RISC architecture contains a large register file for storing the operands and output. You need a large register or files for the storing the operand and output values, because the instructions are simpler one, but with respect, if you are using the simpler instruction, it needs a more number of instruction to represent your program or application. And RISC architecture supports extensive pipelining operation, then you will be execution speed will be increased. The very long instruction word architecture implements multiple functional units, that is ALU, multipliers, etc. in the data path. You can very long instruction word architecture is it is implementing the multiple functional units at a same time. And parallel processing architecture implements multiple concurrent processing elements, and each processing element may associate a data path containing register and local memory. See, whenever we are going for parallel processing architecture, with respect to this, multiple concurrent processing elements can be used, and each processing element may associate with the data path also, and also it should have a register and local memory with respect to each and every data path also. Okay, single instruction multiple data, that is SIMD, and MIME, that is multiple instruction multiple data architecture, are example for the parallel processing architecture. Within the parallel processing architecture, you will get SIMD and MIMD. In SIMD architecture, a single instruction is executed in parallel with the help of processing element, and the scheduling of the instruction execution and controlling of each parallel instruction is performed through a single controller. The SIMD architecture forms the basis of reconfigurable processor. Whenever we are going for SIMD architecture, scheduling and of the instruction execution and controlling of each parallel execution is performed through the single controller only. That's why single instruction multiple data instruction will be running. And in SIMD architecture forms the basis of reconfigurable process. With respect to reconfigurable process, it is the basis with respect to SIMD. MIMD architecture, the processing elements execute the different instructions at a given point of time. The MIMD architecture forms the basis of multi-processor function. If you are going for MIMD, multiple instructions can be accessed at a time. That's why multi-processor systems can use this type of architecture. And the processing elements in the multiprocessor system communicates through the mechanisms like shared memory and message passing. you can go with respect to shared memory to communicate parallelly with respect to more number of instruction at a time and more number of data, multiple instructions and multiple data access by using your shared memory and also message passing method. Selecting the language means which type of language you are going to select whenever you are going to write your software part. And in this, a programming language captures a computational model and maps it into a architecture. Whatever the computational model which you didn't implement it as a hardware, that you can write it through a program that which can map towards the architecture. And there is no hard and soft rule to specify this language should be used for capturing the model. It should be used for capturing this model. A model can be captured using multiple programming languages like C, C++, C Hash, Java, etc. For software implementations and languages like VHDL, System C, Verilog, etc. for hardware implementation also. Whenever we are going for multiple programming languages like C, C++, C Hash, Java, etc. for only software implementation. If you want to implement directly with respect to hardware languages, then you can go for the hardware implementation languages like VHDL, Verilog, System C, Embedded C, all those things come under hardware implementation languages. Okay. And on the other hand, a single language can be used for capturing a variety of models. See, any one language you can use and which can be implemented easily with respect to variety of models and different type of representations. Okay, certain languages are good in capturing certain computational models with respect to certain different type of languages. Some language will be representing some type of models. Okay, for example, C++ is good candidate for capturing the object oriented models. With respect to object oriented models and all, you can directly go for the C++ language. Okay, for example, see, the only prerequisite is selecting a programming language for capturing a model is that the language should capture the model easily. Whatever the programming language we are selecting, with respect to that, the language should be capture the model easily. And partitioning system requirements into hardware and software. First, we have to decide that what all the top parts or what all the application parts should be divided into hardware part and software parts. That we have to decide. That is the main problem with respect to deciding the hardware and software parts. From an implementation perspective, it may be possible to implement the system requirements in either hardware or a software. Okay, whenever we are with respect to implementation perspective, if you are seeing it is possible to implement the system requirements in either hardware or a software part. Okay, it is tough decision making task in to figure out which one to opt as a hardware or which one to opt as a software. Various hardware software trade-offs are used for making a decision on the hardware or software partitioning. Whenever we are doing this, always we have to find out with respect to various software trade-offs with respect to implementation. Computational models in embedded design. The commonly used computational models in embedded system design are data flow graph model, control data flow graph model, state machine model, and sequential programming model, concurrent and communication processing model, and object oriented. These are the commonly used computational models with respect to embedded system design. One by one we'll see. With respect to data flow graph diagram model, the data flow graph model translates the data processing requirement into data flow graph means whatever the data processing operations are there, how we can do the operation with respect to that data, how we are taking the input, how we are converting it, how we are segregating it as a blocks, and then how we are transferring it as a output. That is the actual data flow graph. Okay, it is the data driven model in which the program execution is determined by the data. Always whenever program data driven model is there, means you need to always see with respect to program execution is always determined by the input data which is given. This model emphasis on the data and operations on the data, which transforms the input data to output data. Whenever we are seeing with respect to this data flow graph, always we'll be seeing with respect to what all the operations we are going to perform on a data, and what is the type of input we are giving as a input data, and how we are getting it as a output data. Okay, embedded application which are computational intensive and data driven are modeled using the DFG model, data flow graph model. All the applications which are computational with respect to intensive and data driven, then it will be used with respect to DFG model. And DSP applications are typically typical example for it. This DFG is visual model in which the operation on the data is represented using the block, that is circle, and the data flow is represented with respect to arrows. Okay, and an inward arrow to the process or circle represent the input data, and outward arrow represents the output data representation with respect to data flow graph. Suppose one of the function in our application contains the computational requirements, that is x is equal to a plus b and y is equal to x minus c. Figure will be showing with respect to data flow graph. How we can write the data flow graph? A plus b is will be giving you the result of x. X minus c will be giving you the result of y. This is the representation of data flow graph. In circle, you will be giving the operation on the operation which will be performed on the data, okay, or input data. This is the plus is an operation which will be performed on a and b, and then the result is output is what? X, which will be outward arrow is shown. Okay, inward arrow for the next circle, that is x minus c, minus, that is a subtraction is an operation which will be represented in circle. Okay, and y is the output. The in data flow graph model, a data path is the path flow. Data path is the data flow path from input towards the output. And DFG model is said to be acyclic DFG if it doesn't contain the multiple values for the input variable and multiple output values for a given set of inputs. If you are having a single input and single output functions, then it will be a acyclic DFG model. If you have a multiple number of input values, multiple number of output values, then definitely you will get the actual data flow graph. Feedback input, that is output is feedback to the input events or etc. are example of non-acyclic inputs. If you have any input and feedback inputs, means the second level output is giving the output, or the output will be given as an input for the previous block. That's why it will become non-acyclic input. And DFG model translates the program as a single sequential process execution. If you are writing the DFG, then easily you can understand the actual program or actual functioning of your embedded system by seeing the data flow graph only. Okay, and the DFG model is a data driven model in which the execution is controlled by the data, and if doesn't involve any control operations. Here you won't be having any control operations with respect to DFG model. The control DFG model is used for modeling applications involving the conditional program execution. If you are going with respect to conditional operation, then only you can go for the control DFG of models. CDFG models contains both data operations and control operations, both will be there. And CDFG uses data flow graph as element and conditional as decision makers. And CDFG contains both data flow nodes and decision nodes, whereas DFG contains only data flow nodes. And consider the implementation of CDFG for the following. You can see if f lag is equal to 1, x is equal to a plus b, else y is equal to a minus b. This is one of the conditional DFG. Means if you have any conditions to satisfy, then only you can go for the next flow. This requirement contains the decision making process on also. And the CDFG model for the same is given in the figure, and I'll show you. The control node is represented by the diamond block, which is the decision making element in the normal flow graph flow chart based design. And CDFG translates the requirement, which is modeled to the concurrent process model. Okay, with respect to concurrent process model, you are going with respect to CDFG. The decision on which the process has to be executed is determined by the control node. You can see here, you have done the already, you know how to write the flow diagram or flow chart and all. That is only, it is represented as a data flow graph. Here you will be having data inputs. With respect to that, you will be having the result also, sorry, conditional uh, information also. Here you have a control node where you will be checking with respect to the condition is satisfied or not. If it is false, you have to go back to the other condition. Means here you can see if f flag is equal to 1 and if flag is equal to 1, x is equal to a plus b, or else you will be going for y is equal to a minus b. That only is shown here. If the flag is true, if flag is equal to 1, then a plus b operation is done and go to the result. And if your flag is false, means if flag is equal to 0, then you have to do a minus x is equal to y. That is your actual control data flow graph. A real world example for modeling the embedded application using CDFG is capturing and saving of the image to a format set by the user in a digital still camera. That is an example with respect to conditional data flow graph. You will be taking the image and you will be saving the image in what format, whatever the conditions which are provided by the user of that still camera. Okay, here everything is data driven. Analog front end converts the CCD sensor generated analog signal to digital signal, and the data from the ADC is stored to the frame buffer for the use of media processing, which performs the various operations like autocorrection, white balance adjustments, etc. All those functions can be done with respect to the camera. Okay, the decision on in which the format the image is stored, for example formats like JPEG, TIFF, BMP, etc., is controlled by the camera settings configured by the users. Next we have state machine model. The state machine model is used for modeling the reactive and event driven embedded system whose processing behavior are dependent on the state transition. That is an embedded system used in the control and industrial application are typical example for event driven system. With respect to event driven systems, you will be going with respect to state machine model. The state machine model describes the system behavior with states, events, actions and transitions. State is a representation of a current situation and an event is an input to the state. You can see here a state machine model describes the system behavior with the states, event, action and a State is represented with respect to current situation, means in what state the device is, that is a current situation of your device. An event is an input to the state. See, already your system is in a one proper state, is it may be in a ideal state, it may be in a reset state, or it may be in running state. If you are giving any input to that state, that will become an event. Okay, the event act as a stimuli for the state transition, means from one state to another state. If you want to transit from one state to another state, then you need to have an this event. Okay, transition as movement from one state to another state is called as transition. Action is the activity to be performed by the state machine, means what application it will be resulting, what is the actual activity it has to be performed with respect to action. Okay, and a finite state machine model is one in which the number of states are finite. You will be having actually countable number of states will be there. The system is described using a finite number of possible states. The system can be described using the finite state of number of possible states. As an example, let us consider the design of an embedded system for driver or passengers warning in an automotive using the FSM model. That is with respect to seat belt warning. For example, you can see that conditions has to be verified here. That's why the system requirements are captured here. What all the things we need with respect to the seat belt warning system designing. When the vehicle ignition is turned on, the seat belt is not fastened within 10 seconds or of ignition on, the system generates an alarm signal for 5 seconds. Means what it has to do, first as the person is entered or driver is entered into the car, he has start the car, and within 10 seconds he is not, if he is not putting the seat belt, then it should give the alarm towards the person who is sitting in the car for 5 seconds to show that the seat belt is not applied. Okay, the alarm is turned off when the alarm time 5 seconds expires. If the driver or passenger fastens the belt, or if the ignition switch is turned off, and whichever happens first, whatever the condition happens first, that will be stopping the alarm. See, when the alarm will be stopped, when the 5 seconds is expired, or else if the driver has put the seat belt, or if the ignition switch is off, and whichever happens first, that will switch off the this thing switch off the alarm. Okay, here is the states are alarm off, and next is waiting, and alarm on. These are the states, and the events are ignition key on, ignition key off, timer expires, and alarm time expires or not, and seat belt on. And using the FSM, the system requirement